Welcome inside the Hall of Fame. I'm Booker T, six-time world champ, two-time Hall of Famer. We got the boat with us here today, guys. Welcome to inside the studio. Brad Gilmore, my sidekick, my ace. What's going on, dog? How you feeling?
Hey, I'm doing good, Book. I'm doing good. I'm here in the new digs. I'm in the new spot.
I see you got the plain white background. You know what I mean?
You know what I
like
mean?
that, man. I like that. I don't know. I like the feel of it, man. You know, it's got a good feel. The tone. The tone is right. Let's just say that.
Yeah, you know, I wanted to make it feel as boring and as plain as possible in here.
Yeah.
So I went with literally what some people used to call me in middle school. This color is ultra pure white, is what they call it. Yeah, that was actually
in the business, we call it white hot.
There you go. Well, hopefully I'll have the studio set up here in the next couple of weeks to where, you know, I'll have a nice look. So we'll see.
Yeah, in my area here, man. I'm in my studio / golf room, and man, I've been getting ready for this scratch thing, man. You know, I did some shooting for this new golf series, Scratch Guys. That's with a K. And I'm going to be doing some more shooting this weekend at Memorial Golf Course if we don't get rained out. So, man, I'm ready. My game, man. I must say, on Opti, I'm shooting in the 60s, man. 68, 63. I know that that don't translate to the golf course, anything like that. Other than I will be playing somewhat okay. I can tell you that right now. The drives, man, have been off the chain. I'm thinking about getting me a new set. I'm thinking about getting me a new set of clubs because I've been having this old set, these old Callaways for a long time. And I think it's time for me to upgrade. I was waiting on Scratch. I'm waiting on Scratch to hook me up with if they're out there, if they're listening right now, to hook me up with a set of them you know, tailor-mades or something like that, you know what I mean? Some of the Mizunos, something like that, you know what I mean? Some expensive. I don't care. As long as they're over $1,000, I'm good.
Yeah, what is the price range for good golf clubs? Is it in the thousands? Is that where we're looking?
Yeah, you're going to spend $1,000 if you I'm going to buy you a nice set, more than $1,000 because you get the driver, the 3-wood, the putter, all of that's separate. It's like the battery is not included. You know what I'm saying? So you got to go spend for a good driver. You're gonna spend $300. You know what I mean? For a good 3-wood, you're gonna spend a couple of hundred, and a putter, another couple of hundred. So you hitting a good $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 for a good set of clubs.
Oh, man, I like that. You know, I don't know what I paid for mine back in the day, but it couldn't have been more than a couple hundred.
You probably got that starter set. You know, starter set started at $300. You know what I
think I got mine from a buy one get one sale or something.
They got no extras or nothing. You know what I mean? They just like you just turn it on and go. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to think about neutral. You ain't got to think about drive, park. Just turn this up and just go.
Yeah, if my golf clubs were a car, they would be the Etzel, and I'd be doing the windows like this. You know what I mean? There'd be no buttons.
Like the Flintstones, man. That's what you'll be like Barney Rubble, like using your feet for momentum, dog. But no, man, no. Yeah. I'm waiting for the weekend. I'm waiting on the weekend, man. Like I say, got this deal with Scratch, as well as we're going to be heading back to Dayton, Texas. Reality Wrestling is going to be doing our thing. I'm in Dayton, Texas again on Sunday. 4 p.m. kickoff time, guys. 4 p.m. start time. I'm talking about if it was golf, it'd be shotgun. You know, at 4 p.m. Don't miss out. Don't get shut out. We tried to set up the streaming for the last Dayton show, but the internet, the Wi-Fi, they got their own internet down in Dayton. I can't think of the name of it right now, but yeah, we didn't have the right kind. Let's just say that.
You know what? Dayton, Texas was a sensational place to visit. They had a great crowd. They loved us. But you know what? I mean, if their only con is that they don't have a strong Wi-Fi signal, but they still sell the building out, I'll go with them.
You know, I said, I told Charmel, we got to get one of those signals, you know what I mean, that we could just take with us. You know what I mean? Just set it up, boom, put the rabbit ears up, and boom, go live around the world, reality wrestling. But we're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out sooner or later. But Dayton, Texas. We're on our way. We got a show on the 30th of next month, November 30th, and in Galveston, Texas, at the Moody Center there. So, guys, reality wrestling is on the go. Of course, we got that new TV deal. CW33 in Dallas. We representing every weekend around 3 p.m., something like that. So, guys, don't miss out. Don't get shut out. Check out your reality wrestling. Be a part of the road. Go to realitywrestling.com. Be a part of the thing, guys. We on the move. Marking the territories all around the Texas area, guys. So if you hear us coming to a town near you, come check us out. We definitely love to have you.
Yo, Book, I know we have a lot of wrestling stories and some MMA talk to get to, but I didn't want to get your opinion on something, being that you've been an athletic performer.
Please tell me it's not Afghanistan.
It's not Afghanistan. I don't want to ask you about that. I want to ask you, have you been seeing everything that's been going on? And I'm asking you because you've been a touring live performer of the athletic variety for the last 3 decades. Have you seen everything that's been going on with the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving? How Kyrie has essentially, from what we know, refused to take the vaccine, or he hasn't taken it to this point. He says it's a private matter, which it is.
Yeah.
But if he does not get it by the time the season starts, he cannot play for any home game for the Brooklyn Nets. How do you feel about this? Because LeBron came out and said he had hesitancy about taking it, but he took it anyway because it was good for the team. It was good for the league. It was good for him and his family. How do you feel about what's going on with Kyrie?
You know, I understand it being a personal decision and all of that, but you got, co-workers that you're working with very, very closely to. And if you're not willing to sacrifice for the team, for your family, whatever reasons you're not willing to sacrifice, that's on you. But more importantly, suffering the consequences. He's going to have to suffer the consequences. Do Kyrie Irving need money? No. And I'm sure that's the reason why he's sitting out. He's not one of those guys that, that's, working for, minimum dollar. He's a guy that's getting paid big money and been getting paid big money for a long time. So he has a choice to whether I want to do this or not. Are the rules going to change for Kyrie Irving? I don't think so. Is he making? Is he putting his team in a position to perhaps they don't have a chance at a championship goal? Of course, but for him, maybe it's bigger than that. And me personally, I get it. I understand that. Sometimes I don't understand it. Why he's doing it. I mean, the statement that he's making as far as not taking the vaccine, I don't get it. And me personally, I just don't understand why people are so hesitant as far as taking the vaccine. But there again, I'm not going to hate on them for saying, hey, I don't want to be a part of that. The team is the guy that's going to be looking at Kyrie saying, man, what is the deal here? Yeah,
I agree. I think that Stephen A. Smith said if Kyrie's not going to play, because this is just a New York and I think San Francisco issue. San Francisco says you can't play if you're not vaccinated. They said the same thing about New York City itself. My thing is this: do you trade him? Send him to a city where it doesn't matter. Go to the Rockets. We know we don't care down here in Texas. Just send him somewhere and get some good benefit out of him.
No, I don't.
If he's not going to play, what is he worth? You know what I mean?
He's not going to be worth a whole lot this year, but I think people are really thinking this COVID thing is going to blow over. I really do. I really think people think the COVID thing is just a phase that we're going through. A lot of people. I'm serious, man.
In a couple of years now, almost.
I'm not one of those people.
I know you're not.
People. But it's a lot of people think that we're just going through a phase, just something that happens all the time. But I don't know, throughout my lifetime, I've seen as many people die in 2 years from something like this. It's a very, very serious matter. And it is to be taken very, very serious. If Kyrie don't want to conform with the team mandates, and kick his ass to the side. We got to move on. In New York City, you can't go into a restaurant without proof of vaccination. That's the way it is. And is it right or wrong? That's up for debate. Is it to help curb the strain as far as the spread and whatnot? I think so, and I'm going with the doctors on this right here. Is it safe? I think if it wasn't safe, all of the millions of people that have taken that vaccine thus far, myself included, we know by now. You know what I mean? You know, even Trump said that. You know what I mean? If something happened, I'll be the first to tell you. So I don't know, man. What's the hesitancy? Other than it came out on Biden's watch, man. I don't know. And then again, I look at a person like Kyrie. I don't think he's thinking about Biden's watch or anything like that. I think it's there again. It's a personal situation.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I understand if you have hesitancy. Trust me, I do. And there's some history of this country where if you look into vaccines, it hasn't been like the nicest to certain groups of people. But nevertheless, this is a vaccine that, you need to take it, not that you should take it not for it to be a personal decision, but to be a selfless decision and not a selfish one.
Yeah, yeah. And if you're a brother, I know where you're coming from as far as the hesitancy, as far as the Tuskegee Airmen experiment. People go read about exactly what that was about, because a lot of times you hear something and you go, wow, it's totally been taken out of context as the way it's been portrayed for so many years. So go and read about that story right there, and you'll learn a whole lot about what actually went down. I know I did. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame, baby. We'll be back in a minute. Independent wrestling is full of charismatic persona, incredible athleticism,
shooting star, press from pressure covered,
and at times, complete chaos.
Got attention. Don't do it, Will. Oh my gosh! Senton bomb through the table.
This is where the young guys, the young girls come today to pay their dues, to learn the craft, to start the journey to become the next wrestling superstar. I'm WWE Hall of Famer Booker T, and these are the Indies. Can you dig it, sucker? Shoop! Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Yeah, man, we definitely we got a lot to talk about today as far as what went down over the weekend, what went down last week, because man, we got preempted on Monday, man. We didn't get a chance to talk about a few things such as UFC 266, Diaz versus Lawler, Ortega versus Volkanovski, as well as that Danielson versus Omega match went down last week, as well as the Hurt Business. I don't know if you guys know, but the Hurt Business is back together again, man. And a lot of people, even criticizing, even though they was criticizing when they broke the Hurt Business up, now they're criticizing because the Hurt Business is back together.
Why you can't win.
You can't win. MVP put out the perfect tweet when he said, man, all of a sudden, the Hurt Business is back together. He said, man, obviously, you don't have brothers. I mean, you get in fights. You hopefully you make up and you move on. That is different between me and my brother, of course. but yeah,
you had to go and bring that up.
Now the Hurt Business, man, back together again. But what do we start, man? Do we want to start at the UFC 266? Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's get let's get the elephant out of the room first. Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler went down this weekend. And I tell you, fight was supposed to be played out at 170. Turned out they moved it to be held at 185. All of a sudden, to be held at 185, that right there should have sent the message as far as what Nick Diaz was, as far as, just being in proper shape to be able to go out there and do something like that. What do I always say as far as that level of the fight game? Cutting weight is the hardest part of the game. Being able to master knowing how to get to that certain number on that certain day. I know I couldn't do it. It's a science. And for someone like Nick Diaz to have been off for as long as he was, to come back to be contracted at 170 to fight, and knowing that there's no damn way I could get down to 170 pounds. Now the UFC obliged him and said, okay, we'll do it at 185 at the I don't know. I know he had to give up some of his purse power. I don't know. I don't know if he had to give up any purse or anything like that. I don't think so. But Robbie Lawler said, okay, let's do it at 185. So maybe he didn't. But the question is, Nate Diaz, after a long layoff, coming back, he didn't look like the Nate Diaz of old to me. Now I could be wrong. Because people are going to say, "Man, what do you mean? What do you mean?" Nate Diaz punch output was higher than Robbie Lawler's, and that's true. One thing about I think the game and fighting at that level is when you're on autopilot, you're just doing it. Okay, being able to weather that storm and go 5 rounds, that right there take a whole lot of work that we as fans don't see. Those guys are training. Those guys are running up and down hills. They're putting their bodies through pure hell to actually be able to go out there and fight 5 rounds. Now, the question is, do you think Nick Diaz put his body through hell to go out there and fight 5 rounds? Do you think so?
Do I think he put it through hell?
Yeah,
to be able to do that?
I mean, throwing up, doing everything you got to do. I mean, like Rocky, when he had to go against the Russian, he got in the barn, you know what I mean? He was doing these crazy sit-ups, he's running through the snow, you know what I mean? He's doing everything. I mean, he's working out and picking guys up, a big sled and all. He's doing all kind of stuff to get himself in shape. They say the fight, 15 rounds back in the day, you had to train what was it 1,500 hours or something like that, something like that. So for me, do you think Nick Diaz was it at that level to put himself through that, and do you think Nick Diaz could still handle this game at this level?
I think that if Nick Diaz I think that this fight was a test for himself. Now, do I think that he put himself through hell in order to be able to go out there and do it? No, I don't think that he committed 1,000% to go out and fight Robbie Lawler. I think that he was kind of like his brother, his younger brother. He's like, hey, man, I can sit on the couch for 3 years drinking Coronas, get up, fight one of the top 10 guys in the world and get a win. Like what happened with Nate Diaz against Anthony Pettis. I don't know if Anthony Pettis was top 10 at that time, probably not. But anyway, a top contender at welter, and he went out there and he won via the distance. But we saw what happened to Nate afterward, right? Nate hasn't had a win since that fight, right? Yeah. Since his comeback fight. Now, if you go look at Nick came off his last fight before this was Anderson Silva, which ended in a no contest, right? Because they both tested positive for one substance or another. But that was his last fight. And that was 4 years ago, 5 years ago, something like that.
5 years ago.
5 years ago. There's no way, no amount of hell, as you put it, that he could have put himself through to get ready for this fight would have got him ready for this fight. Do you know what I mean? I think this was one of those few exceptions where you had to get ready with on-the-job training, going in there and seeing if you can actually scrap it out. Do I think it's the best Nick Diaz ever looked? No. Do I think that he committed 1,000% to this fight? Absolutely not. Do I think that he showed us something, though, to where he can still, if he gets a full fight camp, back to a good fighting weight, could he be a guy that you don't want to be locked in an octagon with? Yeah, I think so. Is he a champion? I don't think so.
That's the question right there. Why does the UFC keep, people gonna say Booker's talking? Why is he? I mean, Booker is talking about, but why do you think the UFC still feel like they got to go to guys like Nick Diaz to go out there and pull a rating. Guys like Nate Diaz, guys like Jorge Masvidal, not the best fighters in the UFC. Why do you think that?
Because they sell pay-per-views, and they haven't been able to find somebody like a Conor, like a Jorge, like a Colby Covington, right, who causes controversy. People want to see him either get knocked out or win. Nick Diaz, these guys, right? It's the same reason that a couple years ago GSP came back at a division that he had never fought in before and got a world title opportunity against Michael Bisping, right? Because it's going to draw numbers. And at the end of the day, the UFC is a numbers-generating business. If they're not selling pay-per-views, ESPN Plus says, hey, guys, we might need to rethink about this deal that we signed with y'all, right? So they need to put on fights that people want to see. And unfortunately, you could be the most talented or skilled MMA fighter in the entire world. It doesn't mean anybody wants to see you fight. But if you are able to get eyeballs on you, like some of the guys I just mentioned did, well, then you're going to have more opportunities in this game. Is it fair to the entire roster? No. But is it the way that it is? Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, man, they definitely looking for star power as far as making those pay-per-views feel like they're special more than just guys coming to watch guys fight, more than just coming to watch the ladies go out there and scrap. That's what the UFC always, was, for me. It was not just the fights, man, the entertainment, the adrenaline, man. You could cut it. You could cut it with a knife. That's how thick it was back in the day for UFC. Even today, it's still the same way, because if you're a combat, enthusiast, you just love looking at the art of war. So that part right there, I don't think we're going to ever lose. But as far as the stars, the Nick Diaz's of the world, these guys are fading, man. They're fading quick. They're fading really, really quick. I look at Nick Diaz, and I said I was talking to who was it? Rosenberg. I was talking to Rosenberg, and he's like, "Man, what do you think about Nick Diaz?" And I said, "Man, I don't know, man. It seemed like he's a little off. It seemed like he's a little slower than Nick Diaz once upon a time." And he's like, that's the Diaz brothers, man. They've always been a little bit different. Yeah, they have always been a little bit different. But this game, this combat sport, it seems to there again catch up with these guys a whole lot quicker than they do in most sports. And Nick Diaz, I was looking at one thing that stood out to me about Nick Diaz, and it was his right elbow. Okay, and you might say, "What are you talking about? His right elbow?" I looked at his right elbow, and when you could tell when somebody's really not training or stop training because their body like atrophy a little bit. And I looked at Nick Diaz right arm, right near his elbow, and you could actually see a little bit of atrophy starting. And I was like, man, that right there, it told me a whole lot about that 5 years Nick Diaz sitting on the sideline. And I say that about the atrophy is because when I had my elbow surgery, I had to atrophy as well. And it took me about a good year and a half to make it go away and look like it did, once upon a time. I'm not jiving. So when I look at fighters, there again, I look at them like racehorses. I look for the sheen, the gloss. You know what I mean? And I didn't see a whole lot of sheen on Nick Diaz this past weekend.
Well, did he have the sheen of Nick Diaz before? No. But I think he got this fight for the reasons that I said. I think that he just got this fight because they know, hey, Nick Diaz first fight in 5 years, we're going to pull a good rating on this. And the thing was, if you didn't know any better, you would have thought going into Saturday that was the main event of the show. That was the most highly promoted fight on the entire card, and it was third from the top.
Yeah. No, man. Robbie Lawler, give him big props, man. Big praise for Robbie Lawler. Going out there and
there you go.
Still doing it like he always did. I mean, Robbie Lawler, even though he go out and lose fights, he still seemed like the same fighter that's been out there doing it for the last almost 20 years. So give it up for Robbie Lawler. Guys, stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame. We'll be back in a minute.
This is Booker T World Gym Arena in Texas City, the home to the Reality of Wrestling Training Center. It's a 20,000 square foot facility with more than 50 full-time students and wrestlers from around the world. Inside the World Gym Arena sits a 9,000 square foot venue set up for weekly shows.
From up top, 1-2 moonsault.
Where our students showcase their skills in front of a live audience.
What he's done here is awesome. He's created opportunity, and he's creating great talent, as you guys well know.
In the back, a full weight room.
6 up.
Complete with state-of-the-art equipment and personal trainers.
There you go. Two more.
A full staff and office personnel.
One more.
Running the day-to-day operation. We have interview sets for TV production, promo classes, quarterly combines. We evaluate progression and team building. Referees, commentators, ring announcers, and live television production. At the World Gym Arena, we don't just teach you how to become a professional wrestler, but an elite sports entertainer. This is Reality of Wrestling.
Shup. Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Yeah, man, just talking a little UFC right now. Talking about UFC 266 went down over the weekend. Of course, some other UFC news went down over the weekend. Jon Jones, we'll talk about him in a minute. But Ortega versus Volkanovski.
Mm-hmm.
What a fight, man. I tell you, what a fight. Those guys went out there and it was a 5-round war. Okay, that's the only way you can look at that fight right there. And one thing about Ortega, since Ortega made his rise, and it was a meteoric rise as well as that. And then all of a sudden he got to that spot and things start getting a little bit harder. And that's what the fight game really is, man. Max Holloway put it on him to the point to where he had to walk away from the game and totally rethink it, come back, get a win, get a title shot, steps in with Volkanovski, and then get, not that he didn't fight, man, but that damn Volkanovski, man, he is a bruiser. He is a guy that's no nonsense. It ain't got to be pretty or anything like that. But that has to be the toughest little dude I've ever seen in my life, man. I mean, he's a guy that to beat him, you're going to have to separate him from his senses. And that means you're going to have to knock him out. You got to stop him. That's what Volkanovski brings to the table. And no matter what Ortega threw at him, he was successful with 2 takedowns. But no matter what Ortega threw at Volkanovski, it wasn't enough. And it's going to take a whole lot of man to knock Volkanovski off the throne. And the thing is, the person I would love to see try it again is Holloway. But what did you think about this fight?
Well, I actually think that we got what I expected from it. I didn't expect Brian Ortega to be able to go out there and do it. I mean, we saw the battles that he had before. I'll never forget, we were in Las Vegas, Nevada, watching it with a group of people, Brian Ortega versus Max Holloway. What a brutal fight that was for both men, but Ortega especially. And I thought that it would go in there and be a war and be a scrap. I thought that Volkanovski would go out there and get the job done, because this is a guy who, controversially or not, has beaten who I still think is the best featherweight in the world, Max Holloway, on 2 occasions, back to back, right? And I just using that as a barometer, I didn't think that Brian Ortega was going to be able to measure up to the ability of someone like an Alexander Volkanovski. But I thought that it was the fight that I expected with the result that I expected.
Yeah.
Ortega's got so much heart as well. I mean, this guy, he has a never say die mentality at times. There are times to where he can look shaky, but he's got that, it's like the Modelo commercials. He's got the fighting spirit.
Not just the heart, man. He's got the ability.
Yeah.
Actually as well, to actually be able to go out there and be champion in the division. But the thing is, it's just some tough guys that he's fought. And the thing is, it's not going to get any easier for someone like Brian Ortega. But I think right place at the right time, Brian Ortega can be UFC champion.
Look, if we look at it in a vacuum, I agree with you. But I think Brian Ortega, as talented as he is outperformed by the other talent on the roster in his division. I think that this is similar to, if you look at somebody like, let's say Carmelo Anthony, right? Carmelo Anthony, out of his draft class, maybe not the best out of that bunch of LeBron and Dwayne Wade's and Chris Paul era, but a megastar. Had Carmelo Anthony been in his prime in any other decade, in any other generation in NBA history, he would have been a multiple-time champion. That's how good Carmelo Anthony is.
Yeah.
It just so happens his timeline of his prime lines up with some of the greatest players who's ever played the game. It's the same thing with Brian Ortega. Is at any other point in time, could this guy have beat Conor McGregor 5-6 years ago to become champion? I think so. Could he have beaten the featherweight champions of years past? I think so. It just so happens when he's hitting his stride, you have two guys, especially Max Holloway and Alexander Volkanovski, who are just the absolute best in the world. And I just don't think that you're better than those.
You know what? People said Jerry Cooney would have been the heavyweight champion of the world if it wasn't for Muhammad Ali. You know what I mean?
If it wasn't for Ali.
George Foreman and those guys, man. So it's amazing how.
Well, go back to it. Like, think about Karl Malone. That's a great example too. One of the best players of all time, highest scorer of all time, during his generation, and not able to get it done because of that guy in Chicago.
No, it's just that's just the level. We talk about that all the time. As far as the game goes, is levels, and right now Ortega is just he's combating with that. I think more than anything because his talent is undeniable. There again, could he be UFC champion? I think so. But the circumstances is what he's looking for more than anything. I always say me making it in the wrestling business, I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I had a little bit of talent. Ortega has a hell of a lot of talent. He just has to be in the right place at the right time to actually cash in. But let's move on, man. Let's move on. Valentina Shevchenko, the bullet, man. And what a bullet. I mean, she's like a 44 Magnum bullet.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because she's unbelievable. Lauren Murphy was definitely in a place where it's kind of like, can you imagine? I'm claustrophobic. I can't stand being in small places. When I die, I better be dead, because when they put me in that casket, if I'm not, I'm coming out. I'm serious. You know what I mean? I don't know what it's like being in the deep water drowning. But that's why, man, I'm serious, man. That's what I think had to be the feeling of someone like Lauren Murphy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she knew it. It's almost like when somebody would, I mean, even in the female divisions, in the women's divisions in MMA, it's kind of a big talent gap, right, and disparity between 1 and 2 normally. Even if you go back to Ronda Rousey when she was still dominating. Congratulations, by the way, to Ronda Rousey and Travis Brown on the birth of their baby. I think it was baby girl that they had, right?
Don't
baby
look
girl.
at, man, I can't pronounce the name. You know what I mean?
Don't look at me.
You got to help me out with that one right there. You
don't look at me, but I'm sure it's beautiful when it's said properly. But Ronda Rousey back in her day was sensational because there was such a talent gap there. And then you go on to the Chris Cyborgs and the Amanda Nunez's. Valentina Shevchenko's in that same category to where she's just so far ahead and above everyone. You know that even going into it, if you got the fight, you know, okay, I'm probably going to lose this, but you know what? Lightning could strike. You never know what's going to happen. But I think that she knew going in there that Shevchenko was going to be next to impossible to knock off. And she essentially said it afterwards. She's just like, look, there's different classes to this game. And she's in her own class right now. I think that there are fewer and fewer fights that are intriguing in all the women's divisions. Honestly, you have a few people out there who I'd like to see, but there's no fight that I'd like to see more than Shevchenko and Nunes again at a competitive weight class.
Thing is, that's the only fight out there for Shevchenko.
I know. And Nunes.
Yeah, and Nunes, but more so for Shevchenko. And the reason why they created this division was literally for Valentina Shevchenko, just so she wouldn't have to compete with Amanda Nunes. Let's keep these two away from each other. Let's we got two champions. We got two dominant champions. Both of them are pay-per-view ready at any moment in time. Well, more Shevchenko more so than Nunes because, man, she could get a hangnail and call it a fight. But as far as being bad to the bone, and when she does show up, she's going to whoop somebody and do it very, very convincingly. I understand that. Wanting to have that. But like you say, the only fight out there for these two ladies is to get in there and scrap it with each other just because there again, there's no other fights out there for the two. Yeah,
and it's just right now it's kind of like that beginning of Rocky 3 when Rocky's just fighting all the bums, that Mick calls them, and he's just fighting to fight, right? Because he's a draw. Nunes is a draw. Shevchenko's a draw. That's why they put him on the card. But it's not the most compelling fight ever because you almost already know the outcome. I mean, anything can happen, right? Chris Weidman could beat Anderson Silva. You never know what's going to happen in the game, but you have a pretty good idea just based on skill level. So I think that's right. I don't think they're going to give us that fight. And honestly, I don't know if the two sides could agree on a weight class because right now Amanda Nunes probably likes walking around at this heavier weight. And she would probably tell Shevchenko, come on up. And I don't know if that's something that would benefit Shevchenko when those two match up. I think Shevchenko would be better staying in the division she's at. Strawweight, I think, is what she fights at, right? So I don't know if we're ever going to get them to agree to the same weight class. Again, both of them being champions of their respective divisions.
Totally agree, man. I know we got to take a break, but you cannot mention Rocky 3 without mentioning Clubber Lang, man. Come on, man. You and that chump know where I had to come from? Hey, woman, you want to be the real man, huh? I tell you what, why don't you come on over to my apartment tonight and I'll show you a real man. Don't get his, what he say? Don't give him no statue. Give him guts. Oh, man. Clubber Lang, man. That was one of the best roles I ever seen played in a movie from that perspective. Especially it being Mr. T, because he wasn't the greatest actor in the world, but that role
was for him.
That role, I don't think anybody else could have played that role but Mr. T. After looking at it, of course, hindsight is 2020. We look back and say, man, it perhaps could have been, but I don't think so, man. That role was perfectly for Mr. T at that time, man. What a movie, man. Guys, you're in the Hall of Fame. We got a whole lot more to talk about. I know y'all ready to get into some wrestling. And we're going to do that for you in a minute. Stick around. You're in the Hall of Fame.
And that's a stunning elbow to the face. Oh, and look at this. She just raking Angela's face across the middle. Oh, my goodness. That's hard to watch. Oh, man, what is she thinking? Oh, no. Top rope suplex. Superplex from the champion. If enough be the exclamation point. She's looking for the 450. Oh! From the top rope, she's calling for shooting star press. Star press. Shooting star press. Cover 1, 2, 3.
Sucker. Boom! Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I know y'all want to talk about some wrestling, man, but before we talk about some wrestling, I know we got to talk about that Bones, man, that Jon Bones Jones getting locked up again out there in Vegas, man. That boy love Vegas.
A little too much.
And drinking just is not his deal. At least that's what he say the problem was, drinking, but we know the boy been often use other experimental, whatever we want to call him. Hey, I don't want to put him out there because I don't know exactly where. I've never seen him do it or anything like that. But this dude, man, to be so talented, keep putting themselves in such a bad light, it's hard to really want to get behind him. It really is. And the thing is, we all want to get behind Jon Jones, but for me, this dude is he's a screw up. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if the rumors are anywhere near true, if he put his hands on his woman, she had some blood on her or something. I've been with my wife for 20 years, and I'm gonna tell you right now, she ain't never had to think about calling the cops on me for putting my hands on it. You know, I might throw something, you know, but I ain't finna put my hands on her. And if that happened, this dude got a problem. He really has a serious problem if Jon Jones put his hands on his wife. And from the reports, is the daughter, I think, is the one that said call the cops. Now, with something like that happening, bro, you need to check yourself, bro. You need to check yourself. When, you know, my daughter, you know, have to call the cops on me. I think I know I would have a problem. And for me, there's no way I could dismiss it. There's no way I could, you know, put it to the side or anything like that. This dude needs some help. Just like Cormier said, that might be the. And the thing is, I don't even want to delve into it that deep. If he need help, that's on him. But
right.
With this dude, more importantly, I think he needs a reality check. Getting a slap on the wrist every time something happens, something bigger gonna happen next time.
Well, I think that's the root of the problem here is the people around Jon Jones, including the UFC and Dana White himself, should be held partially responsible for this. Now, I understand that he's a man and he makes his own choices in life, but at some point you're being enabled, right? You're being enabled, and I think that Jon Jones was enabled in this particular instance and situation because Jon Jones. Let's look back at the history there. Let's look back at the history of Jon Jones. He won, had an entire UFC card pulled, right? Where he couldn't make weight. They completely canceled the entire UFC card, or he had the issue with the substance. And then he has the hit and run incident. He has the hit and run incident in New Mexico. There we go again. There's another instance where something crazy goes on with Jon Jones. Then he fights Daniel Cormier, reclaims the 205 title. And what happens then? What happens then is he tests positive for a banned substance. And then we bring him back again, though, after getting the whole card canceled, after the hit and run of a pregnant woman in New Mexico, after testing positive for substances in the Daniel Cormier fight for the championship at 205 or whenever that was. He then comes back again to make his grand return. And what happens? Oh, you test hot again. But then it was just a picogram. So what does the UFC do? They don't say, Jon Jones, you're suspended. They don't say the fight's off. They say, you know what? Don't worry about it, Jon. We'll move the entire card to a different state and location the week of the fight for you. And when you start looking at it, Jon Jones, if I was Jon Jones, I'd be like, no big deal. I'll get out of this. Right? I mean, what was it last year during the pandemic where he had the public intoxication thing where the video came out where he was on the street and, didn't know what was going on and failed the sobriety test with the officers. He says, well, no big deal. I'm going to get out of it and I'm going to get another fight. And all Jon Jones has to do is that. And I think the UFC bears some of the responsibility for it. And here's the thing, too. If I know somebody's got a problem, especially with alcohol or substances of any kind, the last damn place I'm going to invite them is Las Vegas, Nevada, where vices are plenty out there.
But the thing is, vice is everywhere. You can't hide.
Sure.
You can't hide from, some drugs if you want them bad enough. All you got to do is make a phone call or ride down to the neighborhood and ask somebody, hey, man, what are drugs? They're going to tell you, I got them. You know what I mean? What you want. You know what I mean? It's going to be that simple. And the thing is, no matter what country he's in, that's just the way it is. You got to be in more control of yourself. And this dude, he's a great fighter. As far as going inside that octagon, has been nobody better from a technique perspective, from all well-rounded perspective as far as fighting goes. Jon Jones he checks off every freaking box. As far as does Jon Jones have a Hall of Fame? Has he amassed a Hall of Fame career? Yes, he has. Mm-hmm. But as far as his outside antics goes, I mean, Pete Rose amassed a Hall of Fame career. You know what I mean? But Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame because of what kind of person he was, what kind of character he had, what kind of judgment he made. And I think Jon Jones, he's in that same position as a Pete Rose as far as I'm concerned.
I don't disagree with you in the sense of Pete Rose, sensational baseball player, but made a decision that changed the outcome of his entire life and how people look at him and perceive him. The thing with Pete Rose, though, he was just betting on baseball games.
Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, no doubt. I mean,
he should bet on baseball games.
Pete Rose should have been forgiven. Okay,
by now.
I've never heard Pete Rose beating up his woman, drunk, running over somebody,
hit the pregnant woman and running off.
Exactly. I mean, come on. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Jon Jones's character is flawed, and it's flawed. It's flawed big time. As far as I'm concerned, is he a role model? Hell no. Jon Jones, he's not a role model, and hopefully he'll be. Willing to say he's not a role model, because he's definitely one of the guys who haven't put himself in that position to say, man, I'm going to make this a better place when somebody that looked like me come along and got the talent that I do. And hopefully they'll give him the chances that I had. But Jon Jones is kind of like stirring it up for people that look like him in so many different ways. And I'm just, like I say, I'm just going to call it what it is. He definitely needs some help, but that's on him as far as whether he get help or not. I ain't no counselor, no, therapist or anything like that. That's on him.
Yeah, I think that unfortunately Dana White and the UFC are going to have to make a decision that they have pushed off making for several years now, and that is to just cut ties with Jon Jones. Because if you continue to give him chances, he will continue to do things like this. He was there to be inducted, for his fight to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, right? This should be a moment of celebration, not only for Jon Jones, but for the sport, for Alexander Gustafsson, right? This should be a moment of celebration. Instead, it's marred by more controversy than it should be, because this guy keeps getting chances. And I got to say, Conor's in a similar boat, right, with the UFC, to where he continues making these questionable decisions and they keep enabling him. I think that Jon Jones, if you look at it, is in the same kind of predicament. He's such a megastar. He's been given everything by the UFC. He's been promoted to the high heaven. He's been a world champion, highest paid guy, this, that, and the third. And sometimes when you have too many options in life and you think that you're invincible, sometimes it takes being brought back down to reality, and somebody or something or somebody is going to have to get Jon Jones and straighten him out once and for all, or we'll be talking about this again in a year. Since you and I have had this show, every year we've talked about a Jon Jones controversy.
Episode.
Almost every episode. So
that's where we are. Yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna say it like I said last time, man. Hopefully, brother, get him. I ain't going down that road. Though. He on his own, man.
Yeah.
Hopefully, whatever happens, will happen, and we won't be hearing about stuff like this, going down. Because, like I say, putting your hands on your woman, as far as I'm concerned, I got sisters, and I remember seeing my sister with bruises when I was a kid, and I wasn't big enough to fight at that time for, but I know what I was feeling. I was wishing that I was grown. I swear to God, I was wishing I was grown, just so I could put my hands on whoever had put their hands on my sister. I swear to God. Yeah. We gotta take a break. And what? We
gotta take a break now.
All right, let's take a little break. We're gonna come back and we're gonna get right into the conversation. Danielson, Omega, back in a minute. Boom! Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. I'm Booker T with my man Brad Gilmore, and we're doing it, man. We're doing it and doing it big. I know you guys want to talk about it, man. You guys want to talk about AEW Dynamite Grand Slam went down just last week. Danielson versus Omega, the epic. What would we call this? Dream match, right?
Yeah.
Should we call this dream match?
I think this would be a dream match.
Epic dream match. Omega Danielson, pretty much a 30-minute Broadway. Ended in disqualification. A lot of hoopla, outside interference, shenanigans, whatnot. It's wrestling. It's supposed to have. Without shenanigans, it wouldn't be wrestling. Go ahead.
No.
Just get that out there. But the match, let's talk about that. It was one of those matches. I think I don't know if I talked to you about this match or anything like that beforehand. I don't know, but what I was thinking was this match was going to be high pace. It was going to be one of these strong style, somewhat hybrid Japanese matches, trying to mix some American style in there as well to try to not lose the American fan, just because you're trying so hard to do Japanese wrestling when we're not in Japan. But I thought it was going to be that type of match where it was going to be hard hitting, and I think we got that. I think we got that. Mm-hmm. Did they leave anything in the ring? Man, I don't think so. Daniel Bryan definitely took some wicked shots and some wicked bumps. That a man, have had reconstructive, surgery done on his neck. Man, it surprised me, because it looked like Daniel Bryan was, running on all cylinders. It didn't seem like he had missed a beat or anything like that. I'm not a person that is well, knowledgeable about Kenny Omega, but I've never heard one bad thing about Kenny Omega's work ability in the ring, whether this guy is safe or anything like that. I've never heard anything bad about Kenny Omega. And to give your body up the way Danielson did in that match, Kenny Omega, brother must be a surgeon. I'm serious. You know what I mean? Call him Dr. Well-B because Daniel Bryan looked like he took a lot of shots. And there's nobody talking about it right now as far as the internet goes. Daniel Bryan this, Daniel Bryan that, Kenny Omega that, other than the match. Sometimes, matches like that for me, I look at them from a studying perspective. And I always refer them to my students to go and watch and say, man, this part of the match right here, for me, let's just get it out there, the buildup of that match, the way they layered that first half of that match with Daniel Bryan selling and, man, really making that part mean something. That's the American part for me right there. And I bought in, man. I was like, wow, this is some really, really good stuff, man. They're telling me a really, really great story. And then I guess around halfway through the match, maybe closer to 3/4, they did something where it was a no sell, bing, 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 bang, both double down. That kind of stuff right there for me. I'm not that big of a fan of it, but I know there's a lot of people out there that like that kind of stuff. But for me, I'm still looking for the drama of making the fan feel a certain way, not just to get that "this is awesome" chant. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the Danielson chant. I'm looking for the Omega chant, and I'm looking for the "this is awesome" chant. And to do that, that first part that I was just talking about, it cannot be played with. It cannot be misused. Let's use that word. We got to always think about that work that we put in. It's almost like a boxer delivering body shots throughout the whole 12 rounds. He's putting what we call money in the bank. And that's what that first part for me was. It was putting money in the bank. He was doing it for a certain reason. And then it kind of lost me there for a second, got me back at the end, as well as the hoopla and the chaos. I'm not mad about that or anything like that. Was it a good match? Man, I thought it was a good match. Did it serve all of my purposes? Nah, I don't think so. But it wasn't for me, perhaps.
Yeah, well, I will say that I thought, I knew that Brian Danielson was going to come out there and going to give his all in his first match, right? That's just how he does it. He gave his all in his last match in WWE. I expected him to give all of his that he had in his first match in AEW, and Kenny Omega was the guy to go in it with. I remember we were 5-6 minutes into the match. Now, I will say I was late to the match. I was sure that it was going to go on last, right? And then so I tuned into Dynamite about 5 minutes late, and they're already in the mix. So I had to go back and watch the beginning. I did that actually last night. But these two went out there and, Book, in my estimation, they gave the fans everything that we could have asked for, right? Yeah. I mean, they beat the hell out of each other. They brawled out of the ring a little bit. Daniel Bryan was selling his ass off, and in some parts to where you were legitimately concerned for his well-being, those chops to his chest where he just has that perfect canvas. As you used to say that, it looks better when the white guys bleed, right? And yeah. That was what you said. It looks good on Daniel Bryan's skin when he has those welts from the chops to the chest. They show up so great on him. And it looked like he was in real physical anguish for a large majority of that match. And the other thing I didn't like, but I knew that it had to happen. I'm not mad because it had to happen. I wanted a definite winner. But I completely understand why they did a 30-minute Broadway. Like, I understand it. I get the logic behind doing that, especially it being a non-title match. You don't want Daniel Bryan just to come out there and beat your world champion on his first night. It doesn't really look great for anybody. So I understood the 30-minute draw. I understand they're probably going to bring it back on pay-per-view. And it's a way to, storyline-wise, get Bryan Danielson up to the number one slot, for lack of a better term. But I thought this match was awesome, and if you could hear that New York crowd, I thought that I may have been able to hear them all the way down here in Houston. That AEW crowd loved what they saw from Wednesday night.
Man, like I say, I agree with you 100%. I feel like what they did for their audience and what they're looking for, it was spot on. But for me, there again, I'm always looking for that one little extra layer. Unlike the fan that's just watching it. I'm always looking for that extra layer of how far are you going to take your ability from a Shakespearean perspective? That's the only thing I'm thinking about more than anything. Did those guys go out and work their asses off? Did they get the AEW fans what they wanted? Yeah, even the finish, I don't think the fans were mad at that just because, they're rabid, man. They just want they want just good action more than anything. And then again, seeing someone like Omega and Danielson inside the square circle, that's a match that we don't see on a weekly basis or anything like that. That's something that's almost like brand new. And just think about it. It's almost like brand new. And Daniel Bryan been in the business 20 years and Omega been in the business almost 20. You know what I mean? So that right there is uncanny to actually see something like that. And that's what's cool, I think, about those type of matchups, being able to see matches like that for me is, man, I think that's what the fans want more than anything. Just like boxing, not being able to see the best boxers go out and compete because of a promoter here and a promoter there, they alleviate that, like Trilla has been doing, with the Paul brothers, to where it's not about the money, it's about the excitement, it's about, man, how much we can draw, how much money we can make. I think that's where I think that's what it's going to be about at the end of the day, man. It's the best going against the best.
We do have a comment here from Stellar Justin Lopez,
Super Chat
2.0, who says, I got back home to Brooklyn at 2:30 in the morning from the event, and instead of going to bed, I watched that match again. It was good to me. So
man, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're a fan of the business, and Kenny Omega, he actually changed his style a little bit in that match. Kenny Omega actually didn't go out and harsh play or anything like that. It was a real fight. Mm-hmm. And for me, people always say, why, just because you're a bad guy, you can't be smart. Why just because you're a heel, you can't be smart? Why because you're a heel, you got to cheat all the time? I love the fact that Kenny Omega is a smart heel. He can go out there and wrestle just as good as the best babyface, the best good guy you throw at him. I love that. And to see it played out from a real perspective, boy, it was like mano a mano. Man, you're not as good as me, because I don't know if you guys remember the promo. The promo, Daniel Bryan say, "You're not as good as me." That right there is a what? I'm not as good as you. What are you talking about? I've been all around the world doing this. I've been perfecting my craft on a 365-day perspective, and you've been in one company. What are you talking about? You better than me. And for Kenny Omega to show up the way he did, 100%. I get it. I buy in. If I don't get it, nobody does. Okay, so yeah. So I'm loving everything about it as well. Take nothing away from it. I'm not, it's probably going to be a headline tomorrow saying Booker T said he didn't like it as much.
Of course,
something. But for me, like I said, if you're a fan of this business and guys going out there and trying to take you to a different place, because this thing that we do, professional wrestling, to go out there and do it a little bit different than everybody else, because everybody is doing the same exact thing. If you can go out there and do it a little bit different and put some light on you, you know what I mean? And shine. I'm talking about shine like a Hershey bar. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't doing it like that, man, you ain't doing it right. Guys, you're in the Hall of Fame. Stick around. We'll be back in a minute.
And your question for the win. In The Insider, Al Pacino's character works on which TV show?
Is it 60 Minutes?
And your winner!
The Movie Trivia Showdown, the most competitive movie trivia league in the world.
It's MMA or boxing. It's like you want to see the two best scrapping it out.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
2 points. Movie release
Keep
date.
it. Wow.
Danny DeVito.
That's correct. You mother. Rising sun. And your winner!
Championships, factions, the best in the world play here.
I'm ready to schmo down. Throw down with the schmo down.
Kevin Goodenough!
This is why we play the Showdown.
The professional sports league of movie trivia. This isn't bar trivia. This is the movie trivia Schmodown.
Shoop! Welcome back inside the Hall of Fame, guys. Just talking a little AEW Dynamite Grand Slam went down last week, as well as the Rampage Grand Slam went down. Also, Punk versus Hobbs. Yeah, man. What do you think about that match right there?
I thought it was fine, right? I mean, I think that CM Punk's first effort back was a better showing, but he's also working a completely different style guy. So sometimes we know in the professional wrestling, it's the same in any other.
Wait a minute. You thought it was fine. What does fine mean?
I thought it was okay. It wasn't the greatest.
Define fine.
It was
me personally. If I see a woman walk in, I go, man, she looking fine, man. I might be one to get if I wasn't a married man. I might be one to jump all over it. You know what I mean? So you need to define.
It was good. It was good, not great. Fine means good, not great.
So if it was a chick, let's define it as a chick walking by. You want to get with her?
If she approaches me,
if you've been drinking, you might want to see.
if I've been drinking my glass of warm milk, perhaps I would give her a second look.
That's what you said. No, I'm just trying to get a Richter scale here, man.
No, she'd be one of those who's as she's walking by, you register it, you say, "Oh, okay, not bad," but you don't turn around as she passes you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you don't get the second look. But the first look was fine.
It wasn't like Stella Justin Lopez 2.0. Go and watch it later on at night.
No. I'm not trying to find her on Instagram later. You know what I'm saying? Once was enough for me. You know what I mean? But it was good. It was a good match. I think that, CM Punk was working a different style there. I think you and I kind of talked about it a little bit last week when he was working Darby Allin. He's more the aggressor due to the size disparity between the two. And this one, Will Hobbs, Powerhouse Hobbs, maybe the next to Brian Cage or the Big Show, the biggest guy on the roster, right? And Lance Archer, he's in a very small group of massive dudes in AEW. So you had to kind of adjust on the fly a little bit there for CM Punk and play a different role. I thought that their chemistry was fine. I just didn't think it was great. But this is the first time they worked together. If they're going to work again, I think the match is going to be even better. I thought it was a good showing for both of them, but not like an extraordinary match. Nor did I expect it to be. I thought that they were just going to go out there and have a match. And that's what they did.
Yeah. And the thing is, you got to understand the position that Hobbs was in, taking on CM Punk in that match right there. I equated to when I had to wrestle The Rock. I know he was WWE's golden boy, and I'm like, man, I got to take care of this guy, man. I don't want to hurt him or anything like that. And I was really, really passive in that match, and I didn't do. I didn't bring the pain like I should have. But bring the pain don't mean like try to kill this guy or anything like. But do things to where I don't look like there again, being passive, as well as being able to take care of him at the same time, because I know CM Punk is not the youngest guy on the roster, and Will probably, I'm sure he had those same thoughts in his head, working with someone like CM Punk. But it was definitely a moment for someone like Hobbs to be in the middle of the square circle with CM Punk. I'm sure he's gonna, be looking back, hindsight 2020, saying the same thing I'm saying, more than 20 years later, man, I should have whooped his ass. I should have took care of him at the same time. You know what I mean? And it's a difference. It really is. You know what I mean? So I understand where Hobbs definitely could have been from a mental perspective. And I'm sure that match is going to make him a lot better in the future.
Now, also another match that stuck out to me between the two nights of this Grand Slam. First of all, let's say that Arthur Ashe Stadium looks awesome as a wrestling venue. It looked great. It was packed out. It was a perfect size. It was nice and loud in there. But I got to say, and I might be in the vast minority in this one, but I enjoyed the Bryan Danielson Kenny Omega match. Obviously, that was almost an instant classic as far as wrestling fans go. But Sting and Darby Allin versus FTR, I gotta say, look, I'm wrong on this show a lot of the times, and I come to realize it later. But don't nod your head like that. But this was when I heard Sting was coming into AEW and he made his debut, I was like, okay, he's going to do a cinematic match. That's okay. And I said on this show, I have zero interest in seeing Sting inside the squared circle wrestling a normal match in his 60s, right? I said I had zero interest in it. Yeah. And I am here today to admit I was completely wrong, because he went out there with Darby Allin and FTR, and they had a great match, and Sting looked good. Right now, are they doing certain things to make sure that he looks good in his presentation? Sure, right? But I never thought that we'd see a 61, 62-year-old Sting still out there having not only passable but good matches. And I know he's in a tag. I know there's certain ways you can cover him up. The face paint helps because you don't really register how old that he is. But Sting went out there and he's been doing it. Because I saw him wrestle the 2.0 guys here in Houston, right? And they were brawling through the crowd, all through the back, doing whatever they needed to do. And Sting's been putting on some good performances, him and Darby together.
Look, man, how many times have I told you? How many times? How many, man? How many times? How many times? Know.
Tell me what?
How you gonna tell a man? How you gonna tell a man that he can't do what he want to do? How you gonna tell a man that he ain't still got it, like he used to? How you gonna tell a man that, he can't go no more? You can't do it. So I'm not gonna sit here and hate on Sting for being however old he is out there still doing this. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, it's hard. It's hard to do this as far as the wrestling business, putting your boots on, getting out there, putting the face paint on, going out in the ring, and but then again, you get a certain adrenaline from it as well. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm sure this run right here for Sting is probably one of his most pleasant runs, because it's no way he could ever imagine a dream at 25, something like that when he first got in this business. He'll still be doing it in his 60s. Just think about that. Just think about that for a moment. I mean, me personally, like I say, it's not for me or anything like that. But for some people to do it as long as they possibly can, man, because when they stop doing it, that ride is going to be over. And a lot of people wonder what's next. And if you ain't got to look for that, why look for it? I'm gonna ride this until I can't do it anymore. And then once I stop doing it, I'm not gonna have to do anything after that, because I'm a made man. The fans are gonna take care of me. They're just gonna want to see me. From that point, they're gonna want me to. They're gonna want to see me do well. So that's not gonna be a problem or anything. So I have no problem with Sting. I'm still doing this. Me personally, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see the match or anything like that. I got to go back and pull it up on YouTube. Maybe I'll check it out tonight. How long was the match?
It was short. I mean, it was maybe 8 minutes or so, somewhere around there, probably. Probably around 8 minutes.
I can watch that.
Yeah. The other thing is this. Cody Rhodes, Malachi Black. Cody Rhodes comes out there and gets booed out of the building.
I saw that.
New York City.
I saw that.
Not probably the reaction he was expecting. He even had to look at the crowd for a moment and acknowledge it, because it was so prevalent throughout their match, the boos. I mean, the roof jumped off the place when Malachi got his victory. What do you think of that for Cody Rhodes? Because he's been taking a lot of time to go out and pursue other things in Hollywood and his Go Big show on TNT or TBS, one of the two. What do you think of that?
I can tell you this. I'm not sure exactly what the reaction meant or anything like that. But I do know this. In this business, you got good heat, you got bad heat, and you got go away heat. Okay? And I don't know which one was that. I don't know if the fans I don't know if Cody Rhodes has did anything on television to become a heel. I know everything Cody's been doing on television as far as AEW has been pretty liking towards what the fans would want. I think I could be wrong. I haven't been watching every show or anything like that, but to get that kind of reaction there again, it could be the best reaction in the world if he's going to be that heel that people are going to love to hate. I don't know. I don't know if that's what it was. I don't know if it was a go away heat, like, man, now you Hollywood, and you like the pot calling the kettle black, one of those type of deals.
Right.
I don't know. We'll see in the end as far as how this thing play out.
All right, well, we'll see. We'll see, Booker T. But I think that if he continues to get these reactions, it'd be best for AEW not to ignore it, to lean into it.
Exactly.
And they've shown in their short history as a company that they'll go with the way the wind's blowing if it's beneficial to the television show and the story. So we'll see if they ignore it or they roll with it.
Hey, bro, it might be the best thing that could happen. Sometimes you slip on a banana peel, and it'd be the best banana you ever had in your life. I'm serious, man. So you just go with it sometime. We'll see how this thing play out. More important than anything, man, we got to get out of here, man. We got to get out of here, guys. Again, Sunday, Dayton, Texas. We're going to be doing a big show, reality wrestling stream. We're working on it. If you guys can't be there, be looking for it. Go to realitywrestling.com. There again, we got some big shows coming up. We're definitely going to let you guys know about that. Brad, as always, appreciate you. All of you guys in the chat, man, every week. I love you guys, man. Appreciate it. But right now, we about this month.
Can you dig it, you sucker?